said, I am very thankful to the organizers, Professor Ricardo, Professor Benedict, Professor Allen, and also the co-assisting organizing team from Hindu College, and all the learned participants present today. These 2-3 days we have been part of this program, academic exercise, and I look forward to meeting or hearing responses from you in the future also. This can continue. So with this today, my problem is I have to say many more things, how to frame it within a short time. So I will summarize. That's why I could not even display PowerPoint also, because it was too many things, too many slides. So what I will do, I will briefly summarize some of the points and what I want to do, because the theme is God and consciousness. And here I want to talk about the uniqueness of a monotheistic concept of God in Hinduism, Sanatana Hinduism, and which was named, focusing on the monotheism, it was named by the medieval Bhakta saint of Assam, Mahapurush Srimanta Sankaradeva. He named it as Eko Harana Nama Dharma. So it is the absolute surrender to the one alone, only one God, and who is, of course, he identifies God with the God of the Bhagavad Gita, of Krishna, Vishnu, etc. So how he develops this, and why there was a need for connecting, because prior to Sankaradeva, because Sankaradev's time was, of course, the medieval Bhakti Renaissance, a Bhakti movement in whole of India with Kabir, Nanak, and others. Everywhere there was a need for suddenly resurgence of readdressing Sanatana Hinduism, what it is, because already as Vivekananda once said, it is more on touchability and untouchability, caste and not caste. So people were searching for ways and how to define even Hinduism as a religion. Is it a religion? Is it a dharma? So that was the question. And Shankaradeva has a particular objective why monotheism is to be introduced suddenly. It was not sudden introduction. It was a continuation of earlier phase of Vishnu worship. Vishnu as God, or not only Vishnu, even Shiva, Devi, all were very much a part and parcel of life of the people, or even of Northeast, which was known as Assam, and earlier it was known as Pragjyotish. And then with the Shakti Tantra of Kamakya, it came to be known as Kamarupa. And then later, with the coming of the Ahoms from the China Tibetan, and we already have Asterix, Mangalads, Aryans, and with this composition now, new edition coming from China Tibetan, and the Ahoms who ruled for 600 years. And finally, they merged with the Assamese, because already the earlier time Pragjyotish was associated with a Bhauma king, Narakashipu, who was from the earth, Mother Earth Bhumi, and he has connection. Like Krishna became a part of the family member, so he was the foster son of Janaka and Naraka. Sita, all these were very familiar names in Pragjyotish. And then when Janaka installed, or even Krishna came to install Narakashipu, Asura dynasty. Asura again, which like more of, there was an Asuras. And that was also the earlier part of Pragjyotish. And then when Krishna made Narakasura established in the king of Bhoma, after that there was 3 dynasties, the Palas, the Burmans, and others, who had connection with the medieval Bharatvarsha, cultural Bharatvarsha, or religious Bhakti Bharatvarsha. And there was connection because mostly the people were agriculturists here in the Brahmaputra Valley. And these agriculturists, they had the local Kamaikha goddess, and she was now identified mostly as Basumati, Mother Earth. And because Naraka was seen as Vishnu avatar of Karna. So this connection, early Vishnu phase was there. So now, in between what happened when after the coming of the Ahoms and all, already there was a connecting thing of Assamese language, which was even Assam, which was the part which was ruled by the Ahoms, the Upper Assam, then Kamrup, which is Lower Assam and Mid Assam. And then we have in that time also Koch Bihar, which was called the Kingdom of Naranarayana, Koch Kingdom. And that was that time a cultural part of larger Assam, culturally and linguistically also. Later now it became a part of West Bengal. So up to this, Shankardeva's Bhakti Dharma penetrated. And here the language was already, the linked language was already Assamese through that Vishnu, Janaka, Naraka, all these stories penetrated. And therefore they were known to earlier phase of Vishnu. Now what happened? After that, there were all during the, after the Palas and the Salastava dynasties, there were less contact with the cultural Bharatvarsha. Or the Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha, that part is gradually lost. There was no cementing factor, and the tribes and all the small kingdoms became separated. And there was Machanaya, like survival of the fittest. There was no cultural cohesiveness, no cultural Bharatvarsha, no cultural unity, unifying factor was less. And there were everyone like whoever might is right. So that time, kings, because they were new kings, Ahoms, Koches, they were regional tribes, and they were already insecure with the throne. And the priests became the most allies, and then the Tantra and Shaktism took a different turn, with most with making king powerful. And the goddesses, Kamakya and all, became occupied with more blood sacrifices to be given, even human sacrifice was practiced. And on the other hand, the Tantra, which became left-handed, mostly literal interpretation, and it was Brahmachari practices of anything goes. Says there were a section of people called Bhogis who were selected to be offered to the goddess. So during that period, they were let free, and they are free to do anything. Any woman was at their command, because no one can, it was a part of the dharma sanctioning kind of thing. So you can imagine the insecurity, mess, the chaos, and people were looking for an incarnation of Vishnu, because Yada say dharma. So the scene was ready for a monotheistic conception. And in the Bhauma, from Bhauma, the Bhuya, Shankardev was born to a Bhuya family of art related. They were also rulers. And then from that, Shankardev was born to a Shakta family. His family was of Shakta Tantrika. He got the name Shankara because his father worshipped Shiva. And then Shankardev was born. But the time of his birth, it is said, their patron goddess of Shakti, of very huge image of Shakti. And Shankardev, when he just tried to play, he just took the goddess image and tried playing with her. And then the father was worried. He thought maybe it indicates that there will be a new phase of religion coming. So here, in this context, because Shankardev is now to relink Neo-Vaishnava Bhakti movement, he therefore thought he should do something to address the situation. And to address the situation, here where he was admitted, he was an orphan. He was brought up by his grandmother. And then when he was first learning the alphabets, it is said, he wrote this sloka, which is called Karatala Kamala Kamala Dala Nayana. It is for Vishnu's. And the teacher was, he was not only astonished, he was surprised. He started looking at the disciple as a Vishnu incarnation. Otherwise, without knowing the alphabets, without knowing the vowels, how can one write this stupa? So then later on, he also, before going to the pilgrimage, because already there was the medieval, the pilgrimages are there, the influences are there, Kavi was also there. So the link is there, but prior to that, Shankardev already translated the Harichandra Upakhan, because again, the truthful king Harichandra, because moral crisis he wants to address. So truthful king Harichandra, also Harichandra was Ekadev. He was not going to compromise his Vishnu worship or chasing, and for that he was ready to suffer. So these two were his role models. Then he staged the drama, which is called Chinna Jatra, where the even Richmond, he says that this may be the first open stage drama in India. Anyway, so that was Chinna Jatra, where even through paintings, all the 7 Vakunthas were shown, and the audience was mesmerized. These were simple people, commoners, and they just thought Vishnu Krishna is present. So after that, when the pilgrimage process started, they went and he wrote his first Borgit in Brajavali, which was in Badarikashram, and he wrote a Borgit on Rama. And that was the first Brajavali in the eastern land of Shankardeva was the earliest, as per report. So after that, then because he established the religion which he called Ekaharana Namdharma, and religion of one God. And why one God? Because it is already God, and the same God, whether you call him different names, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Bodhant. And to whom this religion? It is a Sanatana Dharma. Therefore, it will be again submerged, again re-emerged, again periodically. So it is eternally. It will continue like this. And therefore, he says that Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. Anyone who is suffering, anyone who is afflicted is welcome to this dharma. So this dharma is not of caste and of varna, but gunagata varna, he says, even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, because of guna and karma, there will be satur varna moyasis. And this satur varna, when later it became jati by birth, the promotion and demotion part stopped. Vishwamitra could be promoted to a Brahmin saying the Gayatri, and later we do not have, even Brahmins were demoted. Even Hoichanda has to be Chandal. So these we do not hear when by birth part came and stopped. And even the northeast part, these people who were commoners, agriculturists, they were not allowed because they were not by birth Brahmin. So here Shankardeva now appears that, and at that time, the Veda verses, Bhagavad Puran comes, and Vyasa's, again, the Shankardeva now, it is not that he is well versed in a great scholar. His book of Sanskrit, Bhakti Ratnakar, was highly respected by Vishnupuri, scholars like Vishnupuri. In the Jagannath Center, there was an enlightened circle of devotional discussions. There Shankardeva was a known name, and they even sent the Vishnupuri's Bhakti Ratnavali to Shankardeva, saying Jagannath, even Jagannath Pandit and all also used to say that Jagannath has incarnated in Bardua, and Vishnupuri told his disciple, Vishnu will be born in a place called B. And he was thinking it'll be Banaras or somewhere. So he of course, he didn't know where is Bardua. And then when someone was explaining the Bhagavata, and one sloka, one could not explain properly, then this boy he is called Kanthabhushan, he was from Kamrupa, Assam, and he translated that. Then the teacher was surprised, said, how come you got the exact translation? Then he says, we have a saint called Shankaradeva who already translated Bhagavata into Assamese. So from that, then he says, why you have come here? Because you have to, Shankaradeva was, of course, a non-Brahmin. Was Sudra Guru. So do you want to be purified with Sanskritic, Brahminic? Then go back to Shankaradeva. Not only that, I have this, my teacher Vishnupuri, who's Bhakti Ratnavali, he says, God will be incarnate. I am sure now, Shankardeva in Bardua is that incarnate. So these are some of the other recognitions of Shankardeva's scholarship. But Shankardeva said, I am not going to write a Prasthanatraya, or I am not going to take part in Vedantic debates, because God is already there, and now people are forgetting. My task will be to restore their faith in a loving, compassionate God. God is not a revenger to them, and I have to remind them, restore that. That will be my task, because my task of Vedas are his mouth, God. So how can you say God is not? And Isa Upanishad and Isa Katha, that tena tektena mundita. So here God is both nirguna and saguna. And therefore, how can I ignore? Because God, when as gold and gold ornaments, Shankardeva says in the Bhagavata, are all one from the same. And if gold is pure or valuable, how can gold ornaments will not be valuable? If the whole Jiva and Jagat, if you look at Maya covered, then it is a stagnant, it is fallen. But when you see the divine essence in it, it is divine, it is godlike. So why all these evils are equal? So he also took it as democratization of bhakti. And therefore with Nama Sarana, therefore Ekadeva, which was the first restoration of Ekadeva, Ekasarana, which was lost. And therefore he says, this should be Vishnu and Krishna. And this Vishnu Krishna was Krishna's to Bhagavan Shayam, which it goes along with other Bengal Vishnuism and other sects. But here, interestingly, Shankardeva, because you see, you cannot define God from nowhere. Cultural specific commonalities will be there because his audience was mostly agriculturists, and they were already used to a particular lifestyle where you see the family is important for agriculturists, then tantric or the individual freedom. So here the domestic life was glorified. And Shankadeva's Krishna, he says Krishna is Vishnu of the cosmic God Narayana, and then Narayana is Saguna Brahma, and then Narayana is Nirguna Brahma. Because Nirguna, because of auspicious qualities like Ramanuja. He says auspicious, not of any evil, not of any darkness. All ahimsa, love, compassion, grace, these are aura of the divine. Divine Brahman is not abstract Gana Sarup, but it is also to be beautifully to be beheld. And it is an aura which evokes prayer because grace. So here, although sun and sunshine, Jiva and Brahman and Paramatma are similar, but the graceful God is one who is above, because his grace we pray. Otherwise, prayer will be meaningless. If Aham Brahmasmi can lead to me being God, yes, I am God, but I am a particle of God. And God, who is the Brahman, Saguna Brahman, Narayana, who is above Maya. Above Maya, above Prakriti. Therefore, how can Maya bind him? And when Maya cannot bind him, but we, even the liberated jivas, can also fall, because even Shukamuni and others, being Brahmagani, they became attracted to Guna Kirtan of Hari, and they came to here. So these jivas, even in the highest Uttaran, also can be within Maya, although there can be Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya. And Lakshmi being Vidya Maya is essentially a part of that Brahman, Shakti and Shaktiman together. So here you will see Shankardev abolishes idol, non-idolatrous, because that Nirguna Brahman, that past, who is the above not only of this universe, Ananta Koti Brahmandar Hari Otikari. He is of thousands and crores of Brahma under him, and Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, and all Hari Otikari. So he is Hari. So how can we limit him in a small idol? If an idol and all will be glorified by a devotee who is a spark of Hari, and therefore he will try to change the paradigm, because you see, which otherwise, if you go for mantra, tantra, and diksha and murti, again by birth, the hierarchy of varna guna, you cannot say, it will be by birth, quality will come, which will make you eligible even to touch the Vedas or not to touch the Vedas, because all will not be equally qualified. Even Stri and Shudra will not have access to that Brahman. So what about them? Because if Brahman is both Saguna and Nirguna, what about the Samsara? The Samsara is the Leela. Now here we have the theistic other things, even Rabindranath, who will say it's a play of loving bliss of Ananda, my Brahma, who is so happy like a child that out of his dance, milk evapors and the creation. It's of joy. It's not of sadness. It's of joy. It's like a creator, an artist who creates. And therefore, in this joy, as Tagore says, that we are in a lila. So in this lila, and he says, how can you ignore me, everyone? Without me, your lila is not complete. So here, Shankardev says in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, the Jivatma is not lost in the tasteless absolute. It remains even after liberation. So here they say we do not want Lina Mukti, Mukti which will merge me into an Aham Brahmas. Because I will be deprived of the joy of prayer. So therefore, I will have to go for that. With this, you see, 2 points I will say here. To some extent, other Vaishnava sects came. Bengal Vaishnavism, it's mostly Vrindavana and Gopala. So here the gopis, and because the Haladin is Shakti, Madhura Bhakti, and therefore it will again be developed in a Radha-centric way. That will be different. But Shankardeva was already in a reformist, very cautious position. Tantra already deviated. Much of the lapses because of left-handed Tantra, he was very particular not to bring, to give only the family chaste bhakti of Dasha. And that's how Lakshmipati Bhagavanta, the Narayan, the cosmic god, where Lakshmi is serving others devotees, it is a family picture of Lakshmi and others serving and Lord, who is compassionate God. And Lakshmi, of course, not servant like outsider. It's my own Ladini. Therefore, Lakshmi is in Narayana's bosom, Vishnu's bosom, that much. But Lakshmi does not want that I should be worshipped separately. As Lakshmipati, I am pleased when Lakshmipati is pleased because he is mother. I am also mother, father, both. In God, I can call him mother, I can call him father. So why need? So there will be non-dual accord. And therefore Lakshmipati, and there is no murti, even of joint worship or simple. So what he will worship? The Bhagavad Puran. Before departing to Vaikuntha, Krishna was asked by Uddhava and others, where we will find him. In the Kali Yuga, what role model? Who will help us? Who will save us? Krishna says, I give everything to the Bhagavad. So the Bhagavata, they say, the first chapter of the Bhagavata is your Skanda. The last chapter will be your Pada. So they worship, bow down the Bhagavata as the least participation of Leela, whereby they take refuge in the Devo Akadeva, which is Krishna consciousness, Krishna in the name, and therefore name and the name holder. Therefore, when you take Sarana because knowing God means, I am not just saying, oh, hello, Krishna, how are you? Not like that. Knowing Krishna means face-to-face, personally, I bow down, I just saying even Dalai Lama, I do the namaste. So talking about God, Arjuna says, oh my goodness, you are Vishnu. I just want to see your human face because I can address you as my friend. So God being that fast, maybe he is the Anantakoti Brahman, but for me, I want to address him as a friend, as my savior, and then only he can understand my sorrow, my suffering. Otherwise, if he's too vast, how can he understand my problem? So the Leela will be the human form, therefore, Vrindavana Leela, it was flute player. But in Shankardev, Krishna's Vrindavan Leela is not the only Leela, it will be merged with Vaikuntha Leela. So Nirguna and Saguna both, this human form of God should not be taken as if Radha taking the limelight, and then Krishna even under Radha as Vladini Shakti or whatever. But here it will be Nirguna. Don't mistake. All the gopis came as Jivatma and Paramatma because it was the democratization of no special gopi is special. All are suffering equally, all are equal, all are to be liberated. So all the gopis became his chaste wife. And then because it was not a parakya, because their husbands found them near them sleeping. So that Bhagavad Raslila Shankardeva made here, Radha is not shown. Even if Radha comes, she will be proud. Oh, Krishna became my subjugated to me. So to Kama Darpa, that too. So he says, I cannot walk, can you take me on your shoulder? And then Krishna disappears, and then Radha transformed, or whoever, the Kupinis cried, and then they became really good. That was the message. Why? Because Assam was already with a tantric deviated form, with Vajradhana from Buddhist deviation, others deviated. So he wanted a purified bhakti. And here Bhagavata was the soul. He was not even Gita Govinda or Joydev or Tantra. That part was minus in Assam. And so therefore it was Siddha Bhakti, not Vidya Bhakti. Because Vidya Bhakti, so he will, very interestingly, now we should be ready for a paradigm shift. Nirguna Brahma, who was the upper, the abstract consciousness, will now be mediator to Krishna above Nirvana. Because above Shara and Akshara, Krishna is Purushottama. In the Bhagavata, Krishna is Mahapurush. The same Mahapurusha who was in the Rig Veda, the Purusha. So here that Krishna, that personal aspect of Krishna is becoming glorified. And that personal aspect, because of auspicious qualities of kindness, lila, love, ananda, forgetfulness, and because jivas will be afflicted and Krishna will be saved. So that continues, and therefore we depend on lila. There will be also the Vakuntha lila, which will be Chaturbhuja. So the Dhana Murti of Shankaradevas will be Chaturbhuja, Krishna, who is in the base form Krishna, Dvibhuja Krishna, because human form is not to Bhagavan Shaya. So, but here the interpretation is slightly because of cultural concept. And thirdly, the most important part, because Purusha comes, person comes above the Nirguna Brahman. This Guna Brahman, you cannot say in Jnanavada, it will be lower to Atma Jnana. Later, because of two types of Vyavaharika Jnana and Paramarthika Jnana, this Samsara Jnana will be lower. And so ultimately, that or the non-dual, which was rope in a snake, it was my illusion. No, here Krishna pervades as Vishnu everywhere. And the Jiva Jagat is goal life, divine life, as Tagore says, Ananda everywhere. And where you will get this Ananda if it doesn't come from bliss? So here, of course, we have to screen the Ovidya Maya from the Vidyamaya, so the process continues. And lastly, this is my concluding. Here, Shankardev reverses the process. With Jnanamarga, with Lina Mukti, Aham Brahmasmi, you have the four terms of Sanatana Hinduism, the Tirthas, which all Hindus are very set. Shankardeva's concept was also Nam, because the name inseparable from name holder. In the age of fallen, age of Kali, everything is guna, vitiated. There will be only Hari Nam, which will be nirgun, above the gunas. So therefore, no mantra, no tantra will do as Satya Yuga mantra or Dapar or Treta Dhyan. Kali Yuga, it will be Nam. And this Nam is above gunas, not Murti or mantra or your caste will be asked. Anyone eligible for Nam, and therefore now will liberate all. He included 12 Dharma Gurus from tribes of Assam who were Vaishnavite, humbler than a blade of grass. And there were more Brahmanas like Vishwamitra. They were so pure and hygienic. Without taking bath, they do not take. Why do you say by what he is a Chandala? And by what who is a Brahmin is also doesn't do anything just because he is Brahmin, you have to bow down. No, he has to be a Vaishnavite, humbler than a blade of grass, truthful like Harichandra. Then the 9 virtues of Navaguna, sacred was then he deserves the guna karma. So Shankardev, because of that, he made the Chandala, the Naga Guru, the Khasi, the Garu, 12 religious heads to Bhagavat Nam Sarana. And this Nam Sarana, even a Muslim came, he says he was a tailor. He was hesitating. I am Muslim, will you take me? He said, who is Muslim, who is Hindu? Come, all are welcome, we are all suffering. So God is our savior. And you chant the name, he will elevate you, even Omen and all. So that was Namkhan, and you will see in Assam, we have no temple. We have Namghar, community service of temple where Bhagavat is placed, which is again 7 Vakunthas. You hierarch and on that Krishna consciousness, which will be now. And so here, anyone eligible, whoever is of these 12 Dharma Gurus. So ultimately, when Shankardev was performing this, and then when his teacher, Mahendra Kandali, who was a Brahmin, Brahmins of Assam that time were different kind. So he says, he begs Sarana to his student who was Shankardev says, how is a Sudra I can give you Sarana? Yes, I cannot give mantra diksha. I am not giving mantra diksha. I am giving Nam Harana. You take Harana to the Bhagavata, which is Krishna personified, and therefore I make you Krishna the Devo. I introduce as a Guru, I introduce you the Krishna. And then Namo, you chant the Namo, and in this Namo chanting, you get the leaf dimension, because Namo says Nama means you call Krishna Hari Nam, he is here. Naham tisthami vaikunthe, yogi nang hridaye nach, tatra tisthami patha, mad bhakta jagayante. So Krishna is bound to come. They say he already committed. Let us sing and he will come. Like a child, Yashoda tempts him with sweets, so we call him Krishna Krishna and he comes. He is disturbed. So interestingly, when Nam is called in Assam, we have the Guru guides how to call Krishna. They call this called Nam Daka, calling Krishna from Vaikuntha to come. Bhagat said, assembly, why you are late? Come, we are calling you already. So Krishna comes. And when Krishna comes, they ask for, they give Danda Arihana. They pay with Tamil Pan, Dhuk, Dhuna, Arihana. They said, please don't take offense. You are the Lord of the Anantakuti. Because the regular part is already reminded, part of the Saguna. Although for Bhakta's sake, you are being so subjugated to Bhakta, but we know you have so many universes, you are the ruler. So you have come to our midst, calling you, if some offenses is done, please forgive us. So they will go down, and in the Nam, now Krishna says, where are Bhagats? Bhagats will say, there Krishna, the Nam Krishna, the Guru Krishna. Taking Ekasarana means taking 4 saranas. It is a linked dimension of participation of Nam, Nami, Bhagavan. They are anyone crossing. It is a sacred place. The perfect space becoming sacred now. Krishna, lived Krishna is present here. You cannot simply call your driver a driver if he is sitting there as a devotee. You have to go down to him because Krishna is charged there also. So everyone is becoming Krishna, you have to charge. So now what Shankardev did is he brought to the Vedantic level the lift dimension of believer's first person point of view. And because Shavana and Nirguna together parallelly, you cannot, you see, look down at one taking. So along with all the communities of all these egos together, holding hands in a community Nam Kirtan, you go for Vaikuntha. Even in Vaikuntha, after liberation, they continue singing it where the Narayana as cosmic God and others. So that is what I conclude the last line with where Shankardev stands now in the Vedantic discourse of these are all. Even I cannot follow what I wrote with. So Shankardev says because tithas are purified by bhakta. So the role model from sannyasi and Brahmin hakas. It comes to next door, my householder neighbor. He can be as good as Brahmagyani, who is like Gita, Nishkama Karma. He is engaged in karma. He is a father. Krishna was in one Rukmini's husband. Somewhere he was father. Somewhere he was playing all the roles. So many roles of householder, of warrior in the Mahabharata, of Vidura, of Uttavagyana, all the roles. And in Western theory, to define a person is how many roles you play. The role I cannot play, I become living dead. Biologically I am alive, but I become. So Krishna plays so many roles, and he says anyone playing role is as good as even a householder. Because householder is not only Itam and Rinam Pitta. He is not biologically, selfishly, clanishly earning for his own family only. He is offering all as God's servant. Even his samsara is samarpan to God, and therefore he is doing the highest dharma as Nishkama Karma Dharma. Everything is offered to God, and therefore Bhagat, that devotee, who is inner and out good, he can even sanctify a pilgrimage. And therefore the 4 pithas, which can be here in the household, you can with the 4 saranas to Nam, Deva, Guru, and Bhagat. You need not go even to pilgrimage. Pilgrimage can be okay, but then even without going also, you will get God in Leela, and therefore I will conclude with this. And so the graceful God is the other, and with the Bhagavata, when it says Paradharma and Aparadharma, and that is also the readers. It will last to this. Okay. So I quote from a quotation from Gavin Clark's book, What is Hinduism? And here he says, visiting India in the first half of the 11th century, the then Islamic scholar, renowned Islamic scholar Al-Biruni, made a striking observation about what is Hinduism. And he says he saw many ordinary people who are Hindu believers, and also he saw the scholars. And therefore he called that Hindu believers, there may be many beliefs, many faiths, many kinds of Hinduisms, but the scholars, they talk about unity. And that unity talk of monotheistic as a unity concept, Al-Biruni says, maybe I may find the glimpse of my monotheistic belief in this. But Gavin Clark says, Al-Biruni may be wrong. This, his God, he may not get in a scholastic discussion. It can be a conceptual analysis also, where God as living God may not be there. So here, what Sankardev did was also looking at Vedavyas's commentary when Bhakti and Ishvara was hidden, and then that is why Dasa suffered. I became so much a great scholar, and then Narada said, you have not mentioned about the main one who spoke the Vedas, and now write the Bhagavata, which will talk of theism. So therefore, the monotheism he takes from Bhagavata, Toru Mulaka Sloka, all the trees, you pour water at the root, and the branches and fruits will get what? Achyuta Vishnu, you worship all the branches and other gods. So it is panentheism in a sense of others are included. Not it. They are also purified that way. They are also worshipped that way. But not through many branches and leaves, we go on not finding the way. So Bhagavata is this. And from the Bhagavad Gita, he takes the Ekasarana, Sarva Dharman Paritejya Mam Ekam Saranam Vaja. You don't worry, I will protect you from all your forbidding anything that you have bypassed your vidhi vidhan. You don't worry, you are. So this samsara is samarpan to this too. And Ekasarana, he made 4 sarana of Nam, Guru, and Dharma.
Thank you so much.